Have you ever walked into a room and felt like you weren't alone, even when no one was there? It's a feeling that sends a shiver down your spine, a primal instinct warning you of an unseen presence. For one family in Cambodia, this feeling wasn't just a fleeting moment. It became their nightly reality. Their story begins with a dream a new home, a fresh start. They found a beautiful old house, seemingly abandoned but full of character. It was perfect, or so they thought. Little did they know, the house was never truly empty. The first few nights were unsettling, but easy to dismiss. A floorboard creaking upstairs when everyone was downstairs. A faint whisper carried on the wind. They told themselves it was just the house settling, the quirks of an old building. But soon, the whispers grew into distinct footsteps, pacing back and forth in the hallway after everyone was in bed. The gentle creaks turned into loud, insistent knocking on bedroom doors, only to reveal an empty corridor when opened. The family would huddle together, their rational explanations wearing thin, replaced by a creeping dread. What was happening in their new home? Midnight became the witching hour. As the clock struck 12, the house seemed to come alive with a malevolent energy. Doors that were firmly shut would slowly swing open on their own, revealing dark, empty rooms. In the kitchen, pots and pans would clatter to the floor as if thrown by an invisible hand. The family would be startled awake by the sound of objects sliding off shelves in their own bedrooms, landing with a thud just feet from where they slept. The fear was no longer just about strange noises. It was about a physical force, something that could interact with their world, something that was making its presence known in the most terrifying ways. The most unnerving phenomenon was the cold. Not just a draft, but a bone-chilling cold spot that would appear without warning. You could be sitting in a warm living room, and suddenly an icy pocket of air would envelop you. This cold was most intense in one particular room, an old unused bedroom at the back of the house. No matter how high they turned up the heat, this room remained frigid. It was a dead, heavy cold, and being inside felt like having the very life force drained from you. The family began to avoid this room entirely, sealing the door shut, but the cold would seep out from under it, a constant reminder of the unseen occupant they shared their home with. Desperate for answers, the family started to investigate the history of the house. They spoke to elderly neighbors who were initially hesitant to talk. Their fearful glances and hushed tones confirmed the family's growing suspicion that something terrible had happened there. The story they eventually pieced together was a tragedy. Decades ago, a young woman had lived in the house. She had suffered a great heartbreak, a betrayal that led to a deep despair from which she never recovered. Her life ended tragically within the very walls of that home, her spirit bound to the place where her sorrow was greatest. Her story was forgotten, her pain ignored, and her presence left to fester in the lonely silence of the house. The spirit's activities grew bolder, more desperate. The family would see fleeting shadows moving in their peripheral vision, a dark shape darting just out of sight. Sometimes, late at night, they would hear faint, sorrowful weeping coming from the sealed-off room. It was the sound of pure, unending grief. The haunting was no longer just frightening. It was heartbreaking. They realized they weren't dealing with a monster, but with a deeply wounded soul, trapped in a loop of its past trauma. The spirit wasn't trying to harm them, but to be heard, to have its story acknowledged after years of being ignored. The family was at a breaking point. Living in constant fear was taking a toll on their health and their sanity. They knew they couldn't continue to live this way. They had two choices: flee the house they had hoped to make a home, or confront the restless spirit and try to bring it peace. In Cambodia, when faced with spiritual disturbances, the path is clear. They decided to seek help from local Buddhist monks, who were revered for their wisdom in dealing with the spiritual realm. The family hoped that through ancient rituals and compassionate prayers, they could finally help the tormented soul find its way to the next life. The day the monks arrived, the atmosphere in the house was heavier than ever before. It was as if the spirit knew what was happening. The monks entered calmly, their orange robes a stark contrast to the dark energy that clung to the home. They began to chant, their voices filling every room with a resonant, peaceful vibration. They lit incense and sprinkled blessed water, not to banish the spirit, but to soothe it. They went to the cold room, unsealed the door, and addressed the grieving soul directly, speaking words of compassion and forgiveness. They acknowledged her pain, validated her suffering, and gently guided her toward the light, assuring her that her torment was over. As the final prayers concluded, a profound change swept through the house. The oppressive, bone-chilling cold dissipated, replaced by a gentle warmth. A faint breeze seemed to blow through the rooms, carrying away the last vestiges of sorrow. For the first time since they moved in, the house felt quiet, truly quiet. The air was light, the shadows retreated, and a sense of peace settled over the home. The family felt an overwhelming sense of relief and gratitude. The nightly footsteps, the knocking, the moving objects, it all stopped. Midnight was once again just a time for sleep. The story of this Cambodian home serves as a powerful reminder. It teaches us that places, like people, can hold memories. They can absorb the energy of the events that happen within them, especially when tragedy and sorrow are left unaddressed. A house is more than just bricks and mortar. It's a witness to life, love, and loss. When a spirit is left to wander, its pain can echo through time, crying out to be heard. But it also shows us that compassion is a force that can transcend even the boundary between the living and the dead. By acknowledging the past and offering peace, we can heal not only the spirits that linger, but also the very spaces they inhabit. This house was never empty, but thanks to understanding and compassion, it finally became a home. Thank you for watching. If you found this story captivating, please like, share, and subscribe for more tales from the unseen world. Until next time, stay curious.